Our republic is fallen, and our society in crisis because grown males act like spoiled boys. They're physically mature and can reproduce, but they're emotional babies because they cannot love well. Boys make excuses. Men take responsibility. Boys want to be cared and coddled. Men care for their wives and coddle their children and bear responsibility for their protection and providence, while silently sacrificing their own. Boys talk, men do. Boys want to be justified. Men deliver justice through protection. Boys self-indulge. Men self-sacrifice. As long as we have a nation of mama's boys and father failures, we'll never save our society and restore our republic. Boys are born. Men are trained. So stand up, man up, marry up, and dad up. Be a protector, not a pimp. A parent, not a pedo. And know whatever your sins or however you were sinned against by your father, your true father waits and watches for you. Retired soldier, special agent and spy turned whistleblower warrior. Served and sabotaged, rejected and redeemed. Failed and forgiven. Betrayed and saved, rejecting revenge. Humbled and blessed, repurposed in redemption. As chaplain, leader, teacher, and truth teller. Now America's intelligence officer. Following God, leading my family, and any that choose to join on our long walk to faith and freedom. Welcome. I'm Jeff Prather, and this is the Prather Point. Hey, welcome everybody. Glad to be with you. Lots to cover today. The title is ICE Shooting Expert Analysis, and that analysis will be mine. But we'll also cover why no Gaza refugees. That's from a Patreon patron's question. Lindsey Graham wants to kill Tucker and Candace. Holy Land Christians reject the Gaza genocide. And hypocrisy prosecuting Maduro, but passing on Biden, and more than that. But I was on X, and you should subscribe to me on X. I would certainly appreciate that. Subscribe to me on Rumble, like, share, subscribe on X and Rumble, and if you want to, on Meta as well. So I'm one of the few non-paid, non-bought-off Liberty Luminary commentators still. And so I simply rely on your donations and support. So you can donate to support the show, which every show takes about 4 to 5 hours of show prep so that I'm not wasting your time. I've given you just essentials and not repeating stuff endlessly like you see on the fake news with the fake blondes going on. So you can support the show at jeffreyprather.com under the red button, support the show. Or you can actually participate with me at patreon.com/Jeffrey Prather at the $5, $15, or $25 level. $5 curated news stories, $15 deep resources, $25 daily training videos, and opportunity to train monthly with me live. Or if you just want created news stories, jeffreyprather.locals.com, $9 a month, $90 a year. You can also go to the Jeffrey Prather shop. You can get great stuff like Prather Private Label, which is by Stay Brewed Coffee, small batch constitutional Christian family out of Indiana makes it. They also make teamamerica.com coffee as well. We get it every month. It is fabulous, highly recommend it. And there's lots of other great items in the shop. No, Christmas is over, but sure would appreciate your support for the show. Anyway, and I want to thank you for your support and your continued loyalty. And, if you can't afford to support the show, then at least send me prayers. We can always use prayers. In fact, prayers have been really helping a lot. We have some great news I can't announce yet from Team America having a huge success. And we also have some personal success from ChristChaplaincy.com, where a former student of mine was in dire need of triple transplants, and through our prayers, he is getting better. So lots of good news here. Pam off. We need Minneapolis residents to hold political office in Minneapolis. Their culture is being erased. It's very true. That's where I'm going to start. So Minneapolis, of course, is the inflection point right now for the ICE shooting of this lesbian lady, Good. And she was out of state, by the way. She wasn't, she had just moved there, is my understanding, or not taking care of her 3 kids, but wants to protest Somalia, removing Somali illegals and the corruption. And it's worth noting that of all the failed states in the world, Somalia is probably the most failed. There's nothing good coming out of Somalia. That's, of course, where Operation Gothic Serpent, more commonly known as Black Hawk Down, where soldiers sacrificed their lives to trying to feed the Somali people, who their warlord gangs turned on them. So why are we immigrating all these Somalis? Well, this is simply depopulation via the bioweapon for repopulation. And you want a very uneducated populace that you can control, as opposed to real immigrants that you want to contribute to the melting pot that was America. Somalis are in a failed country for decades now. All they know is black markets and defrauding the system. So that's exactly what they're doing. And that is what the left is supporting here. I'm not talking about individual Somalis who may be good people, but Somalia as a country is the most broken and backward country in the world. And it is producing illegals that are coming in to further black market and defraud our system. And that's what these white liberal lesbian ladies are protesting and trying to protect while they're ignoring their own children. This, of course, will destroy American culture, and American whites seem to have been so, on the left, have been so taken by cognitive dissonance is that they are willing to protest themselves completely. So that's the background of what's happening here, the political aspect of this. But I want to go into the shooting in detail. But first, we should note that Minneapolis public schools have canceled classes and activities for the rest of the week. They're saying for safety. No, it's not for safety. It's so that they can go out and protest. And then what can happen while they're protesting? Well, if they're protesting, then they can riot. And then maybe there will be another interaction with law enforcement, and maybe this time it is a minor, and so that will set off another George Floyd-like incident. Of course, Somalis are Muslim, so this fits into the religious war that the deep state is going about. But Minneapolis public schools have announced Wednesday that all classes and activities were canceled for the rest of the week. And then they said protests are expected. Yeah, the kids can't go to school, so what are they going to do? They want them to get out there and protest. And of course, this is just to distract from the Somalia fraud, giant fraud that has been perpetrated and encouraged by the government, especially by the Democrats as well. And the Department of Homeland Security has surged up to 2,000 federal agents into the Minnesota area for immigration enforcement and investigations into billions of dollars in fraud involving mainly Somali immigrants ripping off federally funded Medicaid and other welfare programs. So this shooting is now the distraction. And what would they like even more? Another shooting. And if it was a kid, it would be even better. So shut down the schools and let's sacrifice more children. That's exactly what that is about. But I'm going to go into detail on the shooting because I was asked to do that on X. And of course, the best place to have a conversation with me is on patreon.com/Jeffrey Prather. That's where I talk to my regular patrons in depth on all kinds of subjects. But if somebody asks me, or even wants to debate me on X, I will answer. If they simply want to degrade me, insult me, curse me, then I'll ignore them or I'll censor them. But if there's a serious inquiry, so there was, and I answered this back. And so that's the title of the cast today is ICE Shooting Expert Analysis. And the expert analysis is mine because this was actually my job. So background here to get started is I'm wearing my Nous Defions, We Defy PIN, because I graduated from the Special Forces Special Operations Tactics School, which was the Blue Light course. Blue Light was the interim counterterrorist organization before Delta Force stood up under Colonel Beckwith. And this was the original course where you're shooting upside down on walls from Australian rappel into windows, where you are shooting so much that you're shooting over people's shoulders, other teammates. Maybe you've seen this in some of the movies. Very elite shooting. So I was taught by the best gunfighters in the world back in 1988. Graduated from that school. And then in 1993, I had become a DEA agent in 1990, and I went to DEA firearms school. Back then, DEA was in more shoots, gunfights than anybody else. So they were all very good shots. DEA really emphasized its shooting. Next to the FBI at Quantico, there's no comparison between the DEA and the FBI. But the firearms instructors were another breed apart as well. You had to pass every week of the course 96th percentile with handgun, rifle, shotgun, and bullseye course as well. And it was not uncommon for many people to be sent home from that course. It was so rare of a course that I was the single firearms instructor for a decade for Tucson, Sierra Vista, Nogales, Mazatlan, Mexico, and Yuma, Arizona DEA offices. And that includes then all the task force officers assigned. That was my full-time job. I was a primary firearms instructor, and I had to do it all myself because no one else could pass the school. So I'm also the founder of Course Warrior School, and Warrior School has trained over 20,000 from all the intelligence agencies and units, not individuals, but units. These are government contracts from every branch of the military, including the Coast Guard and most federal law enforcement in combat shooting. And so I'm highly published in SWAT magazine, although they've now changed my name off the articles. I've shown you that on Patreon as well. I've been the keynote speaker at the International Association of Law Enforcement Firearms Instructors, and that whole day-long seminar was to law enforcement firearms instructors all over the world, and it was all about bad shoots, where I was showing real bad shoots and how we needed to improve as firearms instructors. And there's plenty of bad shoots out there, so I'm not adverse to calling a shoot bad. But I'm going to explain why this is a good shoot. And there was another former FBI guy on X who said this was homicide, and he is wrong. And I'll explain that in detail why he is wrong. But this is because I was asked about this, and because this is actually my lane. This was actually my job. In fact, I actually went to court in Tucson for a DEA shooting very similar to this shooting. This is not really an uncommon scenario for law enforcement shootings. Those shootings always happen around the driver's side window. It can be reversed where the law enforcement guy's in the car. In the case of my case, it was actually reversed. The special agent was inside the car, but the scenario is almost the same. So there's my credentials. They're extensive. I've got a lot of experience in this. That FBI agent, I think, is Steve Friend. I think I've had him on the show. He's a younger former agent. He's not a firearms instructor. Doesn't have my experience and training in that regard. But let me go over the law, which is very clear on this, and that's 18 U.S. Code 111. So as a federal agent, you operate under codes. For me, as a DEA agent, it was 21 U.S.C. 841A1, possession with intent to distribute Schedule 1 controlled substances, which is mainly heroin, marijuana, and cocaine. But 18 U.S.C. Code 111 defines the federal crime of assaulting, resisting, or impeding, which is exactly what this woman was doing, federal officers or agents. And it also includes assault with a deadly weapon. It's not, the car isn't a deadly weapon, but it can be considered a lethal instrument, that it can be used as a deadly weapon, although it is not designed to be a deadly weapon. To charge someone with this, there must be an intentional act. So the woman was intentionally driving forward. The alleged victim must be designated under 18 U.S.C. 114, such as a federal law enforcement officer, judge, or other government employee. And 114 says whoever kills or attempts to kill any officer or employee of the United States or any agency in any branch of the United States government, including any member of the uniformed services, while such officer or employee is engaged in account of the performance of official duties, shall be punished, as in the case of murder, as in provided. So murder would require premeditation. That does not fit in this case, in that the woman did not plan to kill the ICE agent. She was planning to impede the traffic of the ICE folks. She was the head of the convoy that was trying to impede the ICE agents doing their work. But as in the case of manslaughter, could be manslaughter. It's not going to rise to the occasion of murder. There's an enhanced penalty. So whoever in the commission of any acts described in subsection A uses a deadly or dangerous weapon, including a weapon intended to cause death or danger. Now here, there's going to be argument because, again, a car is not a deadly weapon, but it can be a lethal instrument. It can be used as a deadly weapon. In fact, much more deadly than a handgun. And actually, it has been used by a lot of illegals and protesters in the past. And so there is precedent for this. So to prove a conviction, the perpetrator must forcibly have assaulted a federal officer or interfered with them while engaged in the performance of their official duty. Did she rise to that standard? Yes, very clearly. Who's covered under that? FBI agents, Border Patrol agents, U.S. Marshals, and specifically ATF agents and ICE agents. It specifically lists ICE agents. And so then there's classifications of this assault. Simple assault involves forcibly assaulting or resisting or opposing the agent. So right there, you check the box for simple assault. Serious assault, no deadly weapon. Similar to simple assault with two additional characteristics, it requires you to make actual physical contact with the officer, which she did with her vehicle. She was in control of that. And with the intent to commit another felony, fleeing from being detained by a ICE agent, a federal agent, can turn into resisting arrest. She wasn't under arrest, she was under detention, but when you resist, that can rise then to resisting arrest. We'll see if that comes out. Serious assault without a weapon is felony punishable up to 8 years in prison and fines up to $250,000. Of course, she's passed, and so prayers for her. But I'm elaborating on the case here. Serious assault with a deadly weapon or causing serious bodily injury is the most serious type of assault against a federal officer. When you make physical contact with the officer and do so with a deadly weapon, will cause serious bodily injury in the officer. Serious assault with a deadly weapon is Class C felony, punishable up to 20 years in prison and fines up to $250,000. So there's a key legal term of art in there, is saying serious bodily injury. So there's two justifications, and only two justifications. I used to teach this endlessly before every training shoot. So you have to have fear for your life or someone else's life in your immediate vicinity, and they have to have the means, ability, intent to execute that threat immediately. That's the first, fear for life. And the second is serious physical injury or grievous bodily harm in most states. And grievous bodily harm, serious physical injury means you simply cannot defend yourself. You are proned out on your belly, you're tied up, your eyes are poked out, your fingers are cut off. Both of those activate the justification under law for lethal force, that is, for shooting. And I saw a lot of other stuff saying some guy saying, hey, I was teaching the Navy this stuff and you shoot out the tires. That's total bullshit. I've shot a lot of vehicles. I have taught tactical vehicle operations. I've taught ramming. I've taught pit. I've shot into vehicles. I've shot out of vehicles. I've taught people how to skip rounds over the hoods of vehicles, underneath vehicles. I'm very expert in this area. You can shoot out the tires on a vehicle, and the car can drive off. And no one is authorized to shoot at tires or at a vehicle. You never shoot at tires or vehicle. That's movie garbage. You shoot at the driver. That is doctrine across the board. So there's a lot of garbage out there on TV. But again, it's worth noting that this is a liberal lesbian woman who abandoned her own children to disrupt ICE operations to protect Somali illegal criminals. And so she's sacrificing herself, and now her kids don't have a mom around, and the lesbian husband or wife is saying, oh, I brought her here. This is my fault. This is the penultimate of cognitive dissonance. This shows how much the deep state, because the deep state is behind all of this illegal immigration. That's the whole thing with the Islamification of America. Everybody's scared about it. Well, who brought him in? Well, the CIA brought him in. Who covered up for him? The FBI. And do they go after the real terrorists that they've brought in? No, they never go after that. They go after some hapless Muslim kid that they set up. So anyway, to get into the shoot in detail, so the good is at the head of the convoy. The agent exits his vehicle. He's in uniform. There's lights. He approaches the vehicle. He orders her out of the vehicle. She does not comply. Right there, she's in trouble because she's not complying with a federal agent in the execution of his duty, because she is blocking him and the other agents from doing their federal duty. So already she's in the wrong there. So then he hits the door handle, I think is reaching in. She turns away from him to flee him. So this could be argued that this goes from detention to fleeing arrest. Because there's a lot of precedent for this as well. And meanwhile, another ICE agent is now in front of the car, as the car, he's almost on top of the car, likely touching the car. Car begins to accelerate, turning away from the agent at the side, but that turns into the agent in front of the car. Now, the other ex-FBI guy was saying she was trying to avoid him, and so he should not have shot. That's incorrect too, because, and I've also seen, so there's 3 shots. The first shot goes through the windshield. So if the agent had been able to avoid the vehicle, then the first shot would not have gone through the front of the windshield. It would have gone through the driver's side window. But that proves that when he fired, he was in front of the vehicle, and the vehicle was accelerating and actually did make contact with him. So the FBI agent or ex-FBI agent on X is saying the wheels were turning away, so he should not have shot. He should have realized that, even though the vehicle has contacted him. He's not understanding from the agent's point of view is the agent is touching the vehicle touches the agent. The agent therefore cannot see the wheels of the vehicle turn. Regardless, it would not have mattered, because the reaction time that he has to now react, it doesn't matter if the wheels are turning or not, although I don't believe he could see them. Further, there is a very common physiological phenomena that happens in lethal force confrontations. There's a whole bunch of things that happen. For example, there is auditory exclusion, where you don't hear your gun go off, but you do hear your shell casings hit the ground. Your ears actually blink to preserve your hearing. But there's also the tunnel vision phenomena. So likely faced with that deadly threat, he actually had tunnel vision as well, which we'll see, what he says in his statement. But the tunnel vision would even have occluded him from having any vision of the wheels anyway. But again, I think the wheels are irrelevant because he was so close to the vehicle regardless. So he begins the gunfight. So he is, as best as I can see from the two angles that I have seen of this video, is the car makes contact and then he fires. I'm not sure, maybe I have that wrong, that he fires before the car made contact, but I think it's the attack with the car happens and then he fires, or it's almost simultaneously. Regardless, she's already resisting the other agent and fleeing the other agent as well. So it's very clear to me, why this is a good shoot. Now, the next two shots are from the side. I'm not sure, and maybe somebody can tell me if somebody's watching, following this, if all shots hit or not. But the next two shots go to the side. And so there'll probably be an argument made of those two shots were unnecessary. That is a superfluous argument as well, because the gunfight has started and the agent is in reactive mode. Now, I train my students, my handgun martial arts students, in very sophisticated procedures in what's called controlled pairs, which is two trigger presses, two sight pictures, or in this instance, it would be a hammer, which is one sight picture, two trigger presses. But most agents do not, and police do not get this training. They just get a failure to stop, which is you just start pulling the trigger. And so there is no rhythm. So what I'm talking about, I teach a rhythm that is, that's a controlled pair. A hammer is, okay, one sight picture, two rounds, as opposed to the first is two sight pictures, two trigger presses. But because he's under attack, what he's doing is, okay. And so he has probably just been trained to execute failure to stop, which is to just keep firing, which is, it's not, there's nothing wrong with that training. It's just not the best training because it gives no point for the break. But he does cease fire. There's 3 rounds after that. But there is a possibility of him being charged with some of the other rounds. The car then crashes at a high rate of speed, and of course the car's on ice, the agent's on ice. So that really shows that there was a real danger there. So this is, and then the lesbian husband comes out and said, "This is my fault. I brought her here." And so that goes to intent, that she was involved in this protest for these Somali illegals, and even came from another state to do this, and was leading the convoy of that. All that's going to go into state of mind and totality of circumstances in the trial of this. But this is going to be ruled as a good shoot. I'm going to disagree totally with this FBI agent and agree that this is a good shoot. It is not, however, an act of terrorism, as Christine Noam was saying. So to terrorize, the act has to be designed to terrorize other people. For example, with the airplanes flying into the buildings on 9/11, the true intent wasn't to kill the people on the airplanes. It wasn't to kill the people in the buildings. It was to terrorize everybody else, the world watching all of that. That's clearly terrorism. Or when you see ISIS guys cutting off heads, it's the big thing isn't to kill the guy. The big thing is to terrorize everybody else, to oppress through fear everybody else. There is no terrorism here at all. That shouldn't hold up. But we'll see what happens there. How she refused in order to get out of the car. Yes, that's exactly right. How is there any chance of a united community when the mayor will not back up their law enforcement? Well, they don't want a united community. They want to destroy the community. They want to fracture the community, because then this is the synthesis Hegelian dialectic, creating chaos. So it's easier to control. That's what this is all about. So, if the police chief is a thief, which was just announced in my town, that's not uncommon as well. So, but I want to know if you do have questions or comments about the shooting. That's what that's what I'm talking about today. So I'm looking on X. I don't really see anything, but I'm happy to, if you guys do have questions or comments, real interested in hearing them. So this looks like a tragic but good shoot, very clearly. And I have a lot of experience and expertise in this area, and this was actually my job. So will criminal charges be brought? They will likely be brought by the city prosecutor, because it's a very liberal, liberal leftist jurisdiction. Will the criminal charges against the agent hold? No, I don't think they will, for all the reasons I've elaborated on. Will the government represent him? Yes, I think the government will represent him. In the last one I was involved, the Department of Justice actually represented the agent as well. Will there be civil suits brought against the agent? That is highly likely that will happen. Will those be successful? That is much more of a possibility. In the last shoot I was involved in with DEA, while the criminal charges failed, and most of the civil charges failed, when the agent was backing up his car, when the agent went forward, the judge did find him liable, even though the agent didn't hit the guy holding the rifle on him at that point. So where I could see a liberal left-wing judge break this into two separate incidents, break the incident into two separate incidents, is not ruling, taking any ruling against the shot through the windshield, but the two shots through the side door could possibly be ruled, and it could actually be involving in the Arizona case in the precedent, where the initial rounds, again, were through the windshield, and then there were 14 rounds, and then the rounds go through the windshield and then to the side window as well. So could the agent be held liable, civilly liable, for the shooting through the side windows? He could. There's precedent for that. Is that righteous and just? No, it is not. But could it happen? Yeah, I think it could, based upon what I'm saying. You're going to your dad's funeral. Should you avoid public places? Definitely. Stay out of public places. Stay out of big crowds. Like I said, they are looking to, with the school out, they're looking to another protest, which will become a confrontation, and they would love for a child to be shot. They may even shoot a child. That's a very typical ploy. So stay away from big crowds by all means in doing this. So anyway, that is my analysis of the shooting. I stand by that. If you have questions or comments about that, welcome to hear them. It's interesting to note that DEA was involved in so many shootings back in the day that we had a special policy that we would not hand over our pistol that had been, or our rifle that had been involved in the shooting, to the local police, that we'd take custody of it. And we'd go tell, the local sheriff or police, hey, this is our policy. And the local police or sheriff would say, well, that's not ours. We're taking your gun. And so we would agree to disagree on that. We also had a policy of isolating the shooter for a period of 24 hours because we know in real life, it's not like the movies where you go, oh, I'm so bad. I'm so sorry I killed that scumbag. I feel so bad about it. I don't have closure. In real life, if some doper scumbag was trying to kill you and you killed them and you're going home to your wife and kids, after that, you aren't sad about it. You're elated that you're alive and he's not, and you won and he didn't. And if you start talking about that right then, that's when CNN sticks a microphone in your face and makes you out to be the bad guy. That's happened. That happened to the guy on the train years ago when he was confronted. I pulled a pistol on, I think, 6 thugs on a train, none of them which had a weapon. But that falls under the disparity of force doctrine, 6 against 1. Disparity of force doctrine is also big guy against little female cop. Disparity of force doctrine is young guy against old guy. All of those can activate disparity of force doctrine. There's a lot of gunfight law about this, and it's not what is shown on TV. In fact, before I was kicked off of YouTube, I had a video on YouTube where I showed you how you could legitimately shoot a suspect in the back and why. And of course, they didn't like that. Not that I was advocating shooting anybody in the back. I'm never advocating anything illegal, immoral, unethical, or violent, but I was just showing how it could be done. And it's a scenario I taught to, thousands of agents and police officers and task force police officers assigned to DEA task forces, because when they're assigned to DEA task forces, you have to make the DEA standards for qualification, which are considerable, by the way. So anyway, there's my review of the shooting, and it should be pretty clear cut. But of course, it's being turned into a George Floyd incident. And of course, the George Floyd incident was really about counterfeit money from a $20 bill, part of a $250,000 packet of U.S. counterfeit bills from China. And that never got any play. And of course, that was then the My Den color revolution that everyone wanted to happen. Will it happen this time? No, I don't think so. Why? Because there's a lot of sophisticated liberty luminary commentators who are already on top of this and are defusing it already. That is, we are turning the claymore on them. They are no longer able to control the information operation PSYOP. Although for people like this Renee Good lesbian lady, she's all in. She's going to sacrifice herself for Somali illegals who would probably gang rape her and steal her blind if they could, while abandoning her kids. That's the real problem with America today, where mothers don't want husbands. That's why you see all these ridiculous, shiny female little heroes, these stupid movies that keep coming out, and books. If I see one more book or movie about some little diminutive female beaten up guys, I think I'm going to throw up. But supposedly Hollywood is finally figuring that out. I even had a call a while back about my book, Chase, and I thought somebody was actually going to produce it as a movie because it was really designed as a movie. But Chase is a, loosely based on me, American action hero. It's not some shiny female heroine that is so correct all over the place. But anyway, that's the shooting. Let me know what you think about that. to answer one of my patrons, why no Gaza refugees in the United States? This is Shirley, who is a regular Patreon.com patron, and saying, I know they're going to try and turn Gaza into a beachfront property, but why can't we have refugees? Well, that's because it is not politically correct to have Gazan refugees. The United States has accepted a very few refugees from Gaza, despite the ongoing humanitarian crisis. I mean, if you think about it, where is it more needed, Somalia or Gaza? Certainly Gaza. As of late 2024, only 31 Palestinians had been resettled in the U.S. since the conflict escalated in October 2023, according to State Department spokesmen. Historically, the U.S. has resettled minimal numbers of Palestinian refugees, with just 56.09% admitted in fiscal year 2023 and only 16 by 2024. So it is almost nothing and is dwindling to nothing. Why? Because Trump is in Israel's pocket, and they do not want them here. But for legitimate refugees from genocide, there's nobody more deserving than the Gazans, and there's nobody less deserving than the Somali that are come in. The Biden administration had considered a pilot program to admit certain Palestinians from Gaza, particularly those with family ties to U.S. citizens, but that never really happened. Political opposition has been strong. President Trump has vowed to ban all refugees from Gaza and reinstate and expand his previous travel ban targeting Muslim-majority countries. And they've raised security concerns about Gazans, which, I will grant are valid. So why was the CIA bringing in Afghan terrorists? That's, again, to create the foil of the Islamification of America, so we ignore the Zionification of America that has already taken place. Additionally, the U.S. immigration system presents structural barriers for Palestinians because the U.S. does not recognize Palestine as a state, and Palestinian applicants are often required to list countries like Jordan or Egypt as their country of birth, regardless of their actual origin. As of early 2026, no significant influx of Gaza refugees has occurred at all. That means none are in. So, Shirley, I hope that answers your question. Flint, truth at last cannot be hidden. Dissimulation is of no avail. Falsehood puts on a mask. Nothing is hidden under the sun. Leonardo da Vinci. Nothing hidden under the sun is actually a biblical quote. Ropo, thank you. Good info to share out to many friends. Yes, please do. Yeah, please share, like, and subscribe from Rumble and X. Both. So, moving on to Lindsey Graham would like to kill Tucker and CANDACE. Lindsey Graham, war pig, has said, we are killing people who criticize Israel. Senator Lindsey Graham told a pro-Israel donor audience that the government is killing all the right people who criticize Israel, dismissing concerns about dissenting voices, including Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. Speaking at a closed-door meeting at the Republican Jewish Coalition, Graham brushed aside anxiety among donors about the rise of anti-interventionist figures like Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and Nick Fuentes. And I would not put Nick Fuentes in the category of Candace and Owens, but assuring the room that the Republican Party remains firmly aligned with militarism, tax cuts for elites, and unconditional support for Israel. And here's a quote. I feel good about the Republican Party. I feel good about where we're going as a nation. We're killing all the right people, and we're cutting your taxes. The remark, delivered casualty until laughter, was interpreted by critics as revealing a glimpse into the mindset of Washington's permanent war class, one that equates dissent with enemies and treats mass death abroad as a political talking point. Graham went on to praise Donald Trump as his favorite president, bragging that the U.S. military has been so active in attacking foreign nations on behalf of Israel. It has finally begun to encounter limits to its global firepower. We've run out of bombs, Graham boasted. We didn't run out of bombs in World War II. We were also, I think, righteous in World War II. And of course, we won World War II, where now we never are allowed to win. We are never unleashed. So to those who worry about those stupid interviews, Graham said dismissively, Don't worry, the Republican Party has figured it out. So that's a very dangerous precedent. We're seeing this from Mark Levin as well, calling Candace and Tucker Nazis as well, because then you dehumanize them, and then it's easier to kill them as well. So that's the permanent war class that we are involved in, that we must overcome, but Trump seems to be doing nothing to do that as well. Thought I saw some comments on X, but I guess I do not there at all. So the largest Christian organization in the Holy Land has repudiated Zionism and the Gaza genocide. And this is crucial because these are the Christians that are there. This Christian ecumenical organization, the Holy Land, launched its second major document in November, calling for continued nonviolent Palestinian resistance. Having recently returned from the Holy Land, Catholic Humanitarian Aid and Vulnerable People Project founder Jason Jones recommended the document from the Kairos Palestine document. The Kairos Palestine movement was initiated in 2009 with their first major document, self-described as the Christian Palestinians' word to the world about what is happening in Palestine. We're talking about Christian Palestinians now. It was endorsed at the time by heads of all the churches in Jerusalem, including all the Catholic and Orthodox rites, along with the Anglican and Lutheran denominations. What that means is this Kairos document was endorsed by all the different Christian sects, because there's lots of different Christian sects in the Holy Land, in Jerusalem. Among these endorsements was Cardinal Pier Battista Pizzaballa, who was head of the Franciscan custody of the Holy Land at the time and is now the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem. That's Eastern Orthodox Church. As of spring 2025, the Kairos Board of Directors consists of priests, prelates, ministers, and community leaders representing these various churches, including its president, former Latin Patriarch Michael Sabath, Orthodox Bishop Atalia Hama, and Reverend Dr. Munther Isaac, pastor of the Lutheran Evangelical Church in Ramallah, who was also a past guest on the Tucker Carlson show. Offering comments on the new 14-page Kairos initiative, Isaac said, is not an attempt to the beautification of suffering, is a call to persevere. The document uses clear, unambiguous language that calls for the naming things and presenting them accurately as they are. In the document's first section, entitled The Reality, Genocide, Colonization, and Ethnic Cleansing, the Christian Coalition laments, we raise the cry from the heart of the assault of Gaza, a war that has left behind hundreds of thousands of martyrs and wounded and nearly 2 million displaced people. Many were buried beneath the rubble, burned alive, tortured to death in prisons, or forcibly displaced. Others endured starvation, targeted even as they ran in search of food. Tens of thousands of children were killed in the most horrific ways. Gaza's health, education, economic, and environmental sectors, indeed every component of life, have been destroyed. Addressing the gravity of this ongoing international crime, the document affirms human rights organizations, legal institutions, and international experts have been unequivocal. The statements of Israeli political leaders and Israel's actions in assault on Gaza constitute genocide. Many of the war crimes and crimes against humanity have been documented, and arrest warrants have been issued against Israeli political leaders based upon the rulings of the International Court of Justice. Speaking with direct clarity, the prelate affirms what close observers have known for many decades: Zionists do not want us to remain on our land. They plan for us to be displaced, death, or submission. The genocidal war in Gaza is the continuation of the Zionist project to seize all Palestine, empty the Palestinian people for the greater Israel. This is the true face of Zionist ideology, a system that over the decades has entrenched an organized and sophisticated regime of apartheid, supported by advanced technologies that exercise total control over every aspect of Palestinian life, fragmenting the land, dividing its people, and turning Palestinian existence into an unbearable hell. For this reason, we reject the very concept of conflict. The reality on the ground is rather tyranny, an oppressive regime of settler colonization and apartheid. The authors further call out the hypocrisy of the United States and other Western countries who continue to support Israel's ongoing aggression while people of the world have stood in solidarity with us. Christian leaders also addressed the heresy of Christian Zionism, calling it a theology of racism, colonialism, and ethnic supremacy that has produced apartheid, ethnic cleansing, and the genocide of indigenous people. Christian Zionism calls on a tribal, racist God of war and ethnic cleansing, teachings utterly alien to the core of Christian faith and ethics. Christian Zionism must therefore be named for what it is, a theological distortion and moral corruption. And so that's very true, and I haven't emphasized that enough. I've talked about the scriptural basis of replacing Yeshua's parable of the vineyard with Ezekiel, who blesses Israel, I will bless. But by Christian pastors saying that Israelis are superior, that's racial superiority. That goes against all basic Christian principles. And of course, St. Paul says there's neither Jew nor Gentile in Christ. So after all efforts to invite Christian Zionists to genuine repentance have been exhausted, Kairos 2 reads, moral, ecclesiastical, and theological responsibility requires that they be held accountable, that their ideology be rejected and boycotted. The time has come for the churches of the world to repudiate Zionist ideology and state clearly their position on Palestine. This is the case of settler colonization, ethnic cleansing of an indigenous people. So that's what should be happening in American churches. Of course, many of these American churches are going to continue to celebrate Zionism because they're getting paid. Remember, there's just this big biblical reversion where 1,000 Christian pastors went to Israel, not to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach, but to learn how to come back to their congregations and preach the gospel of Israel to Christians. That's how bad it is. And again, cognitive dissonance, psyops are what is truly destroying America and why the republic is falling and while the empire is failing. Good that the empire is failing, bad that the republic is fallen. And with regards to Palestinians living within the state of Israel, the Christians affirm blatant racist discrimination exists. Palestinian communities face intimidation, criminalization of free expression, and persecution of any effort to defend Palestinian rights. Addressing common Zionist calumnies against their interlocutors, Christians condemn all who exploit and support the charge of anti-Semitism to silence the Palestinian voice of truth. We reject every attempt to conflate anti-Semitism with opposition to apartheid and with pressure to hold Israel accountable under international law. They argue that it's illegitimate to conflate Jew with Zionist. And this is very important, and this is very good that they do this. And every time I see something, a cartoon or something on X or something with big nose character or some caricatures or something like that, I just simply delete it. Noting that not every Jew is a Zionist and not every Zionist is a Jew. This confusion has done great harm to Judaism itself. Christian leaders Christian leaderships go on to honor the growing number of Jewish voices that oppose the war and confront Zionism from moral, faith-based, and human conviction. And that is some Orthodox rabbis you will see doing that, and you'll see them being beat up by Israeli police. Churches must boycott dialogue with Zionist voices and amplify prophetic Jewish voices that call for justice and truth. They lament that for too many years, such religious dialogue with Christian authorities has been monopolized by Zionists and their allies, and premises built upon the reinforcement of Zionist ideology and the persecution of Palestinians. They therefore call upon the churches to begin a dialogue with Jews and dialogue with Zionism, indeed to boycott dialogue with Zionist voices that have supported and continue to support occupation, apartheid, and genocide. In a stirring open letter last April, the Kairos Board of Directors admonished the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops for collaborating with Zionist and pro-abortion organizations, including a document which they affirm misrepresents our struggle and seeks to silence our voices, advocating for truth and justice in the Holy Land. In contrast, last May, on behalf of Kairos and the Palestinian Christians at large, Latin Patriarch Emeritus Sabbath wrote the Bishops' Conference of the Church of Norway, thanking them for their clear statement condemning Israel's assault. So what's that meaning? That means the Catholic Church is going right along with the Zionism and GAZA genocide, where the Eastern Orthodox Church is against it. So as reported by the Jewish Voice for Liberation, the Kairos 2 document was released during the organization's 16th anniversary, held November 10, 16 in Bethlehem. Those in attendance included 140 Palestinians and 160 internationals. From the land of the incarnation, the cross, and the resurrection, we renew our word of hope in the God of the poor, the oppressed, and the downtrodden, the Palestinian Christians profess in the final section. The genocidal war has sought to strip us of our hope and faith in God's goodness, yet we declare our adherence to our faith in a holy and just God and in the right God has given us to live with dignity on our land with our ancestors. This is our hope. This is our steadfastness. This is our resistance. So with all the things that you're hearing out of Palestine, you're hearing from a united voice of Holy Land Christians here. And I'm trying to find, why am I not able to, I'm not seeing your comments for some reason here on X. They are not letting me see those. There we go. Pope Leo has been a big disappointment. Who is that? Sarah Lorca. Yes. Well, better than the last. Two narratives. One's claimed she had just dropped off her son at school and recently moved to Minnesota. No, she was heading that convoy. A lot of her previous actions will go into the state of mind about that. And she was looking for confrontation, and she got confrontation, and she continued the confrontation. How not to get shot by the police is just be courteous, compliant, and what's the other C? Compliant, courteous, and cooperative. And you're not going to get shot. Well, that's not true. You can get shot. I actually showed a scenario when I was doing the ILFE presentation where it was actually a legitimate hands up, don't shoot of a white cop by a black guy. It's older black guy standing outside his pickup truck outside of a fast food place. And cop pulls up at the wrong place, and he had PTSD. He'd been deployed. And so then he feels like he's late. So then he pulls real close to the guy who's just standing there, not doing anything, and jumps out and draws on him. And guy puts his hands up, and he says, cop says, show me your ID. Well, the guy, like me, doesn't carry his wallet sit on his wallet. It's in the truck. So he reaches into the truck to get his ID. And the cop shoots him. And he says, why'd you shoot me? Because he went for the truck. He said, you told me to get my ID. It's in the truck. So that was totally a bad shoot. That was a real hands up. Don't shoot. The cop had PTSD. The cop's instructions were poor. And so, that's a real example. Not the setup of Black Lives Matter at all. Beyond that, there's great hypocrisy in going after Maduro and going to charge him with drug trafficking and kidnapping and all kinds of crimes, while nothing is going to happen to Pedo Joe. If you took the Maduro indictment and crossed out Maduro and replaced it with Pedo Joe Biden, you could probably use the same indictment. But why is that not happening? Well, that's not happening because the deep state wants to preserve itself, while overseas wars are always fine. So that is the state of the hypocrisy of the government there. And there is a civil suit by civilians besides the criminal charges brought by the government against Maduro. And here again would be a great precedent for a civil suit then against Pedo Joe. And the precedent already exists because criminal precedent already exists because Trump was convicted. Former presidents can be convicted. So why then are we not convicting the most criminal former president, Pedo Joe? Because they are in on it. That's the clear only conclusion. So this lawsuit is not criminal; it is civil, and it's being handled in the Southern District of Florida. And it is a concrete action brought by U.S. citizens targeting Maduro, Delcy Rodriguez, and other high-ranking officials of the regime for kidnapping, torture, drug trafficking, and the use of hostages as bargaining chips. The allegations are made under the U.S. anti-terrorism law and RICO statute, a legal mechanism reserved for organized criminal enterprises like the Biden criminal enterprise. It could be that exactly, I think. On January 4th, the plaintiffs took a decisive step by filing a formal request for procedural default against the defendants because they didn't answer them back. In legal terms, a default constitutes an effective waiver to defend oneself at the stage of process with very concrete consequences. This is similar to what happens in American state nationals. If the judge accepts the request, defendants lose the right to contest the facts alleged in the complaint. The court can accept the claims as true, and the case enters a stage where the plaintiffs are empowered to request a default judgment. The scenario extends beyond financial matters. An eventual acceptance of the plaintiff's argument would entail a judicial recognition that Venezuela power operated as a criminal structure under RICO. And so if that's the case, then why couldn't the same thing be done to Pedo Joe, which should have been done first? And that's because, again, the government is protecting itself. So we will see where that goes. Meanwhile, the FBI is desperate to ISIS scare America in preparation for what? Likely for more Iran war. The FBI says it foiled another ISIS-inspired terrorist attack at a school. It says it assisted a local law enforcement agency in Indiana where Stay Brewed coffee is made. You get Praise the Private Label or TeamAmerica.com coffee, staybrewed.com in Indiana. Multiple planned attacks over the holidays. At some point in 2025, the FBI helped a local police agency foil an ISIS-inspired attack that at least one minor planned to carry out at an unnamed central Indiana school, according to an annual summary released by the federal agency's Indianapolis field office, January 5th, 2026. FBI disrupted an ISIS-inspired plot targeted in central Indiana high school through rapid coordination with local partners. Beyond that, the agency provided few details, sharing neither the name of the school involved, nor the city or the town which the school was located, nor did the agency clarify whether the report characterized the plot as ISIS. It just was ISIS, because we said so. Why? Because we're the FBI. Why? Because we made it all up. That's what we do. So Chris Bavender, an FBI spokesman, declined to answer an Indy Star request for additional information about the foiled attack, said this matter is ongoing. I thought it was foiled. Because the student had immediate access to firearms, FBI Indianapolis worked closely with the high school and our local law enforcement partner to remove all firearms from the house, and the student was expelled from the school. So the kid had access to firearms. That is lots of kids in Indiana, in the Midwest, in Ohio, hunters. In December, the FBI announced that it stopped another ISIS attack in Northern Carolina. The alleged perpetrator, 18-year-old Christian Stuvart, was planning to carry out an assault in New York Eve. Never any of the Afghan terrorists that have been reported by the CIA. And those are never the guys. They miss those. The authorities found out that Stuvart planned a mass casualty attack against a grocery store and a Burger King in Mint Hill. because grocery stores and Burger Kings are symbolism of, whatever. And expected to kill 20 to 21 victims, very specific there. The Bureau also prevented a planned terrorist attack and arrested 4 members of the Turtle Island Liberation Front. I cannot get over that Turtle Island Liberation Front. So what's all this telling us? Well, take that with this. Iranian protesters have renamed a Tehran street after Trump amid anti-regime uprising. So Iranian protesters intensified nationwide demonstrations over the past 24 hours, issuing direct appeals to President Donald Trump while chanting anti-regime slogans and defying expanding security crackdowns. Footage published on Wednesday showed a protester in Tehran symbolically renaming a street after Trump. Other videos also captured a handwritten message to Trump reading, "Don't let them kill us." After decades of theocratic tyranny, why now? And why Trump? Because this is what Netanyahu wants. This is what Mossad directs, and along with CIA assets, executes. This is clear preparation for more Trump war on Iran. Will it be boots on the ground? Doubtful. Will it be planes in the air? Highly likely. Why? Because we've already done that. But remember, the U.S. forces did seize a Russian-sanctioned oil tanker. Russian warship escorts just watched. To be clear, this is the U.S. escalating towards direct conflict with Russia, as it already has done repeatedly in Ukraine. So, while Ukraine may be slowly winding down, but peace is not happening, the U.S. is escalating more conflict with Russia on the high seas. Not doing much against China. China's still going to get Venezuelan oil. And of course, escalating more Middle Eastern conflict. That's what all these little mini ISIS plots are about. Remember, they wanted to say Crooks was involved with Iran because that is the script. And just because real life doesn't follow the script, you make real life follow the script. That's what happened. That's why the Fast and Furious guns and how I became a whistleblower. The vessel was seized in the North Atlantic pursuant to a warrant issued by a U.S. federal court after being tracked by the U.S. Coast Guard's Monroe U.S. European Command confirmed on social media. So this is, as I have said, this is all more Mideast war looking to happen. Fish guy, they're setting the table, so to speak. Yes, exactly. That's what they're doing. I pray that Iran purges Islam from its midst. Not much chance of that. Iran is Shia Muslim, not Sunni like Iraq. Now I understand why you posted that article showing how they created a villain we can use to justify more war. That's Fish Guy on Patreon. Yes. Yeah, if you're following me on Patreon and if you get confused by I'm talking too fast or whatever, you can almost follow the entire cast right off of Patreon because I publish everything right there. And then we talk about it too. If you want to debate or further explanation, because I'm always answering all my patrons. And that's how we have an ongoing dialogue. We have an ongoing dialogue live during the show and then, all the time. And then, of course, once a month, I do online live classes with my martial arts students across the country and with my handgun martial arts students across the country. In fact, this Saturday is the opening of the dojo, the Bujinkan dojo, which will be online across the country as well. So if you're interested in doing that, you got to sign up at patreon.com/Jeffrey Prather at the Point Patriot level. And then we can get you a handbook and certified membership card, and you can join those classes, or you can join the handgun martial arts classes, or you can join even both. It's $25 a month, and you can then also access when I have in-person seminars as well. But Iran is not likely to purge Islam from its midst at all. But it is worth noting that during Obama's Arab Spring, the only country where regime change was not supported was Iran, where it was most needed. And it's also worth noting that the Iran hostage situation that happened that launched Delta's first failed mission happened not because the Marine Guards failed. The Marine Guards actually got the doors closed, but the State Department bureaucrats went ahead and opened the doors and were taken hostage. So that is the cast today. I don't see any other questions there. Not a lot more than that happening. Well, there is. Candace has photos of Charlie Kirk's back showing that there is no blood, there is no wound. And of course, many commentators have shown that if it was a 30-06, there'd be a terrible exit wound. His neck would have been destroyed. So Candace is further destroying the FBI story, the FBI lie. And of course, that indicates that the government is in on it, of course, destroying the site. And a lot of people are now looking at the microphone. I was in part of an X conversation that just made no sense. But is it possible that there was a exploding microphone, if there was a drone, high-speed drone that activated something like that, something along the lines of the exploding pagers? Yeah, that's certainly a possibility. People are looking at about that. There's some kind of object that's up in the air flying in slow motion that has now been identified. And again, all of this points to nation-state involvement. The destruction of the evidence scene, the remake of the entire site allowed by the FBI shows the government was in on it. The high-speed drones, only nation-state capable, Israel, America, the government is in on it. The Huachuca meeting, which I've talked about, looks like the government was in on it. So, because he was no longer towing the line about Israel and Zionism. So it is a grim year. My predictions have not changed. There's going to be more political violence. We're already seeing it. We're seeing, and they'd like to get another shooting, this time of a minor in Minnesota, to distract and dangle away from the Somali fraud. Remember, they're bringing in Somalis, the most broken, the most backward country in the world, as opposed to Gazan genocide refugees who are real deserving because they are destroying in the system. They're tearing this all down. The Roman Republic fell because they made it fall. The American Republic fell because they made it fall. The Roman Empire and American Empire are failing because they are making it fail. Revelation is coming true because they are making Revelation come true, because it is human fallen nature. So I hope all that makes sense. But at the same time, I'm still very optimistic because we are more aware of it than ever before. There's a new term, Fed slop, which is the garbage out of the federal government, just like deep state is now a regularly used term. And, when somebody says conspiracy theorist, just like the well-meaning Muslim Minnesota lady did the other day, that just kind of immediately labels you as ineffective because you can't debate. You simply degrade by saying, oh, well, that's just a conspiracy and you're just a conspiracy theorist. So remember, the gun is not the answer. You are. The gun is a tool in a toolbox of techniques and practices. Trump is not the answer. God is. Trump is a temporary advocate in a shifting, stormy sea of political power alliances riding the tides. In fact, I just said, Andy, take down the Trump intro because it's no longer appropriate, because it doesn't look like it was too big to rig. It looks like he made a deal. So to see the crooked lines of man, find the straight lines of biblical truth. If you are wildly popular, you are undoubtedly wrong. If you are mocked, made fun of and mistreated, you're on target. If you're waiting for adulation and praise, join the circus. Ignore your critics, cherish your friends. Know your chain of command. Delineate your duty. Triage your priorities. God, family, clan, tribe, nation. To become spirit-filled, empty ego. The only real initiation for a warrior is battle. True certification for a soldier is the enemy. It's not about how you comport yourself in victory, but in defeat. It's not how you perform in public, but in private. Be grateful, and you will become grace-filled. Our times here are like waterfall drops. Savor and share every moment, because all too soon and suddenly